Our failure to acknowledge and harness power dynamics in our relationships is one of the biggest causes for our distress and dysfunction. Nearly all relationships do have power dynamics at play, but we often just don't talk about it, and by not talking about it, we're not able to relate in a way that is respectful, empathetic, and compassionate. If we are in a position of power, one of two things generally happens that causes our dynamic to be a little bit dysfunctional. The first is that we're not aware that we are in a position of power. And the second that can come along with that is that we might be aware, but we're not harnessing our power, we're not using it to empower the other person. And on the other end of the spectrum, we might be in a power dynamic, and we're actually misusing or abusing our power. If we're on the other end of the relationship, so if we have less power or if we're in fact disempowered in a relationship, two things can happen when we're not, acknowledging and talking about the power differential. The first is that we do not ask for what we need. So when somebody else does hold the power and we have less, we do need to communicate and be able to ask for what we want. The other thing that can happen is that we project. So when we've had an experience that power is harmful and is bad, it's very common that whenever we enter a relationship where the other person is in a position of power, we project onto them our experience of being harmed by power, and this can cause us to feel resentful or rebellious. So we're creating a narrative in which we become in essence a victim. So I think that we should all be inquiring and talking about power dynamics all the time, because it would allow us to harness the dynamic and the power to empower each other so that we can engage with empathy and compassion. I think this is something we need to continually process and consider, because while we are generally fixed in our place of either holding more power or less power, there is nuance and flexibility and flux within the way we're engaging with relationships. So we've got to keep talking about it.